Thank you all for joining. Yesterday was the inauguration of the President of the United States. And it happens to be what in Judaism nothing is happens to be. Everything is divine by divine providence. At this coming Saturday, this coming Shabbat, Chabad Hasidim are commemorating and celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Rebbe's inauguration to be the Rebbe of Chabad. Now, a Chassidic inauguration looks a little different than the inauguration that we saw yesterday. In the Hasidic inauguration, there is no singers and things like this. But not only the inauguration looks different, the path to the inauguration is also very different. You see politicians run for office. They are running to the office. True Jewish leaders run away from office. They run away from leadership. The best example is what we saw not long ago, 2 weeks ago, we read about Moses. When God reveals himself to Moses in the burning bush, and he tells him, I want you to go to be the leader of the Jewish people, to go to redeem them, to take them out from Egypt. Moses didn't want to. He refused. In the beginning, he told God, Pharaoh will not listen to me. Then he said, the Jews do not believe that I speak in the name of God, that you revealed me, that God revealed himself to me. Then he said, I can, when God may cover these excuses and find ways to prove that he speaks in the name of God, he said, I have a speech impediment. God told him, Aaron will speak for you. Don't worry, I'm the one, I'll make you speak good. When he ran out of excuses, he says, God, just send somebody else. Moses didn't want to do it. The Torah said, that Rashi says that it was 7 days of an argument. You know, God reveals himself to human, it's a second, a minute, 7 days of an argument. And it wasn't just Moses. We read about the prophet Jeremiah. God revealed himself to him and told him, go, before you were born, I already designated you to be a prophet to the Jewish people. Jeremiah didn't want to do it. He knew what it take. He says, God, who am I to speak? I'm a lad, I'm a young boy. I'm a teenager. Nar anochi. God told him, don't say you're a nar, you're a young man, because I'm going with you. Don't be afraid. The same, very similar thing happened with the Rebbe. When his father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, passed away on the 10th of Shvat, 1950, the Hasidim turned to the Rebbe, to his son-in-law, who was capable to be a Rebbe, and they wanted him. He had the qualities of being a leader, being a spiritual leader. When it comes to spirituality, it's not a job that you fill in. You have it or you don't. The Rebbe had it. He was a holy man, a tzaddik. And they told him, we want you to be a Rebbe. The Rebbe said, no, absolutely not. Again and again, no. And they told him, then what are you going to be? What's going to happen? Who is going to continue the chain of Chabad, the Chabad dynasty? The Rebbe says, I don't know. There are many things I don't know. My father-in-law, the Rebbe, will take care of it. Chassidim are smart. What they did, they started to treat them like a Rebbe. It means to say they came to asking questions about health, about business, about spirituality. And the Rebbe was a nice person, a good-hearted, love every human being. The Rebbe answered them. That he became the Rebbe de facto. I mean, he became the Rebbe. They asked him questions, they turned to him everything. That officially he didn't accept the leadership, but in reality, they gave him letters for prayers. He said, go to my father-in-law, to his graveside. He says, you know, everybody told the Rebbe, you go much more often. Please read for me the letter. The Rebbe took what he will not take a letter to his father-in-law's graveside. Basically, it became a reality. 2 weeks before the first Yortzeit, that was in 1951, a delegation of 3 Chabad rabbis visited the 3 big newspapers, Jewish newspapers in New York. They were in Yiddish. At that time, there were hundreds of thousands of Jews in New York and in America speaking and reading Yiddish. And these newspapers used to be printed in hundreds of thousands. And the Chabad, this delegation came into the editorials and shared with them that in 2 weeks, it's going to be the first yahrzeit of the previous Rebbe, and it's going to be a special Farbrengen inauguration event, and you're going to crown Rabbi Schneerson as the son-in-law, as the 7th Chabad Rebbe. And we are expecting many guests from all over the world. It's going to be a big thing. The next day, it was all over the news that Chabad Hasidim are going to crown the Rebbe to be the Rebbe of Chabad. When the Rebbe heard about it, he called in his secretary and he told him, I want you to call the newspapers and make a denial in my name that's not true. I never accepted the leadership. Secretary heard these words, wow. He called 3 older Hasidim and he told them what the Rebbe told them, to print a denial in the newspapers. He says, I'm giving you until 6 o'clock before the newspapers offices are closed. Go in and do something. Talk to the Rebbe about it. They walked into the Rebbe. One of them started to cry, Rebbe, what are you going to do to us? We need a Rebbe. The work of the previous, all the Chabad Rebbes will fall apart. But the Rebbe was holding on to his opinion. Then the other one was an older Chassid, a very smart man, very wise man. He told to the Rebbe, what are you going to deny? We wrote in the newspaper that we are accepting you as a Rebbe. We didn't say that you agreed to become our Rebbe. We said what we feel, what we're going to do. You cannot deny it. That's what we feel, and that's what we want to do. We are accepting you as a Rebbe. Basically, after this conversation, that was done. Rebbe agreed not to send a denial, and it was clear that it's going to happen. A new Shvat, and this Shabbos will be exactly 70 years. It was a big gathering. It's called the Chassidic Inauguration. Many people came on 770 Eastern Parkway, Chabad, Lubavitch headquarters, and the Rebbe spoke. And in the beginning he said, then there is that Talmudic statement that said when you come to a country, you should behave like the customs of this country. Where we learn it? We learn it from 2 stories in the Bible. When the 3 angels, famous story, came to Abraham to tell him that he's going to have a baby boy, Isaac, Abraham made a big feast. He didn't know that they are angels. And he gave them food, and they were sitting and eating. The Talmud is asking, angels? Angels don't eat. What is this? The Talmud answers, because they came among human beings, they behaved like the customs, like the style that like people behave. Human beings eat, they eat too. On the other hand, we see the story the other direction. Moses, when he went up to Mount Sinai, the Torah tells us he did not eat and did not drink for 40 days and 40 nights. Again, a human being, how could he not eat and drink? The Talmud points out, he went up to Mount Sinai, he was in heaven in the cloud, among angels. Angels don't eat and don't drink. Moses also adopted the customs of the angels. He didn't eat and drink. Then from this we learn that you come to a new place, if the customs are not against the Jewish religion, Jewish belief, Jewish tradition, don't contradict any Jewish law, you should adopt the customs. The Rebbe said there is a custom in America to make a statement. A new leader, a new Rebbe is making a statement. He said, my statement is, the Rebbe continued, that there are 3 loves: the love of God, the love of the Torah, and the love of the Jewish people, the love of Israel. Rebbe said, these 3 loves are interconnected. They doesn't go one without the other. If you love only God, you think that you love God and you don't love the Jewish people, you probably don't love God either. On the other hand, if you love another Jew, if you love your fellow Jew, you will eventually come to the love of the Torah and to the love of God. It goes together. Actually, the path to the love of God goes to the love of another person, of another Jew. Then the Rebbe said a Hasidic discourse. A Hasidic discourse is only something that Rebbes say it. It's a Kabbalistic speech discussing a Kabbalah topic with the practical implication to day-to-day life. That's what Hasidic is doing. Takes Kabbalah and brings it down to earth. What does this mean to me and you? And then the Rebbe, and it's being said with a special tune, and all the Hasidim stand up, and the Rebbe said it with closed eyes, and there is a special song, a serious song that was singing before it. It's a whole ceremony. And when the Rebbe started to say the Hasidic discourse, that was the sign that the Rebbe accepted upon himself to become the leader of Chabad. In this Hasidic discourse, he weaved in words and teachings from all his predecessors, from all 6 Rebbes before him. And then he said something very interesting. He said, whatever the Rebbes of Chabad asked from the Hasidim to do, they themselves did. They showed an example. They led by example. And he said, for example, I just spoke about loving your fellow Jew. The Chabad Rebbes, they themselves sacrificed a lot for another Jew. And he brought a story from every Chabad Rebbe, what he did for other people. And I want to share with you the story that the Rebbe mentioned from the first Chabad Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. The story goes that once on Yom Kippur, Musaf time, the Rebbe was standing in prayers. He took off his talis and he walked out of the shul. You know, the Rebbe walked out. They're waiting 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He's gone. Start to look for him. They cannot find him. He's not in his home. He's nowhere to be found. They spread all over the city to look for him. They found him in the edge of the shtetl, in a very poor home. It was a woman who gave birth to a baby. Where is the husband? In shul, praying. Maybe it was after she gave birth, maybe before she gave birth, he left. He was not there to be found. And the mother and the baby were freezing from cold. It was cold. They were shivering. And the Alter Rebbe chopped wood on Yom Kippur, made a fire, warmed up the room, and not only this, and made a soup for her. Cooked a soup for the woman. She should be able to warm herself up to the mother who gave birth. They found him there. Told him, Rebbe, why you didn't ask one of us? We would be happy to go to do what you have to leave the shul in the middle of the service on Yom Kippur and go to chop wood. And he said something very interesting. He said, in Hebrew, I'll say it, then I'll explain what it means. He said, mitzvah begadol. The mitzvah is with the greatest person. What does this mean? Jewish law said, on Shabbat and Yom Kippur, the only way you're allowed to violate Shabbat, to, let's say, drive somewhere or do things like this, you're allowed to do it to go to the hospital. When it's emergency, when it's risking, when it's a matter of life for a person, you're allowed to violate the Shabbat. Then the Talmud says something, Jewish law says something very interesting. When somebody comes to the rabbi is in a shul, let's say, and somebody collapses, God forbid, and you need to save him, and the rabbi thinks that it's allowed, and it's a mitzvah to do it, it's an obligation to do it, the rabbi should not send somebody else. He should do it. Why? Because if he will not do it, people on the side will say, and he sent somebody else to say, you see, the rabbi avoided to do it. Obviously, it's not so kosher. The next time when there will be an emergency, they will also shy away and they will not want to, they will stay away from doing it and saving a life. Therefore, the Jewish law says, mitzvah begadol. The mitzvah is on the greater person in the community. The rabbi, he should go and do it. He should show an example to do it. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. I had a feeling. Nobody came to tell him that there is a woman in the edge of the city who is sick, who gave birth and she's shivering and she needs somebody to make a fire to warm her up. He had the feeling while he was praying that somebody is in need. And he went after his feeling, he put down his talents, and he went to the place that he felt somebody needs him, and he helped them. That means to love your fellow Jew. Then after the Rebbe he finished the story, and his Hasidic discourse, the Rebbe said like this. He says, I want to tell you, my dear friend. He didn't say my dear friend, he spoke to the Hasidim. Don't think that because you appointed yourself a Rebbe, now you're taken care of. Now everybody can go, live a good life, enjoy, do what he wants. The Rebbe will do for us the work. He will pray for us. He will learn for us. He will do the mitzvahs for us. He will... No. The Rebbe says, I'll be happy to help you. I'll do whatever I can. But your own job, spiritual journey, nobody is going to do for you. Everyone has his own mission in life, and everyone has to do it. But on this old theme of the first inauguration, if you want, Verbringen of his officially accepting the leadership of Chabad, the mantle of leadership, he said the theme, love your fellow. That's what it's all about. And that was Chabad since then for the 70 years. It's all about sacrificing your own comfort, physical comfort, spiritual comfort, for the sake of another Jew. And this brings us to the parsha of this week. We read in this parsha, God told the Jewish people, tells Moses to tell the Jews to take a Passover lamb and to slaughter it on Erev Pesach. And in addition, God said, to eat from the meat of the sacrificial meat, you must be circumcised. Now, the Jews in Egypt were not circumcised. They didn't follow the rule from Abraham. Most of the Jews were assimilated. And God wanted to take them out from Egypt. But they didn't deserve to be redeemed from Egypt. There was no difference between them and the Egyptian. They were idol worshippers, the Egyptian, and the Jews did the same thing. The Egyptians are not circumcised, and the Jews are not circumcised. Yeah, there was a group of people who were circumcised, the tribe of the Levites, but the majority of the Jews were not. And God needed, one rabbi, Matthew ben Chorosh, says, God needed, he said, the prophet says, God came to redeem the Jewish people, and he saw that they are naked. Naked from what? Naked from mitzvahs. Mitzvahs is compared to clothing. When you don't have mitzvahs, you might have a nice suit. I might have a nice suit, but I'm naked. Then God wanted to dress them. And what he gave them? He gave them two mitzvahs. One mitzvah to deny the idols that they were worshipped. The lamb, the Passover lamb, the lamb was the idol of the Egyptian. God wanted the Jews to slaughter their own idol. And on the other hand, to make a priest, to make a circumcision. A bris in Hebrew means a covenant, to make a covenant with God. These two mitzvahs. And that was the whole philosophy of the Rebbe. It was not about making people religious, not about to bring them to make from them, they should grow big, long beard and make them Hasidim. If somebody wants to become a Hasid, no, let them be. The goal was to give every Jew a mitzvah. Mitzvah means a connection, to connect every Jew to the Jewish people and to God. The moment they are connected, they can be redeemed. That's what it's all about. God, the Rebbe wanted to bring redemption, to the general redemption, to bring Moshiach, but the path to the coming of Moshiach comes to personal redemption. How a person finds his own redemption? By a connection to God. It becomes closer. And one connection brings to another connection. One mitzvah brings to another mitzvah. May we all be connected to God. Redeem, and the way to be redeemed, the Rebbe said in his same Chassidic discourse, the way to enjoy a mitzvah is by making other people do a mitzvah too. Thank you.